Well, good morning, and I would like to welcome you all to the California State Division 107th Annual Educational Seminar and use my official gavel to officially begin the seminar. Thank you. With that, I hope you enjoy your time here in San Diego, and we will get our ceremony started. And presenting the flag today is the Chula Vista Police Honor Guard.
Detail. Order. Up. Forward. Face. Forward. March. There, right. There, right. Up. There, right. There, right. There, right. There, right. Left. There, right. Our time. March. Hold. Ready. 2.
Will you all please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing as we hear the national anthem from Alicia McLaughlin.
Present. Art.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Art. There. Face. Forward. March. There.
At this time, I'd like to please be seated. And I would just like to have a moment to recognize the people we've lost this past year. Past president and first woman president for any IAI division, Donna Jewett. California State Division member, Monica Radar Reinhardt. Avid instructor, educational supporter, and always here at our conferences, Jan Johnson. I would also like to acknowledge the officers we have lost in the line of duty this past year. If we can take a moment of silence to honor these people. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to recognize and introduce the San Diego County Sheriff Kelly Martinez and Crime Lab Director Jennifer Harmon, who are here to support us. And Sheriff, if you'd like to have a word, thank you.
Well, good morning. And for those of you who aren't from San Diego, welcome to San Diego. It's a great time of year to be here. We're still a little bit in the May, gray, June gloom, but hopefully you'll get a little sunshine while you're here. You know, it's really phenomenal. And I just want to highlight and underscore how important it is to continue with your professional training and career advancement opportunities. And I think this is going to be a great week for all of you to network and to talk to each other about best practices and what really works and what you're doing differently in different regions, because you can all learn from each other. I understand we have attendees from throughout the state, and your networking really matters. So as a sheriff of San Diego County, I chair the Remote Access Network, or the RAN board. I don't really do much in that regard. Jennifer really does most of the work, but it's a great opportunity for me to learn more about what you're all doing. We also have a regional crime laboratory here. The Sheriff's Department, just for our jurisdiction, we're 4,200 square miles of law enforcement, public safety services for the unincorporated San Diego County. We have 9 contract cities, 18 Indian reservations, which is the most of anywhere in the nation, as well as running the jails and court services. And then on top of that, our crime laboratory is responsible for supporting over 30 law enforcement agencies in the region, federal, state, local. So we really have a big job, but just for Cal ID alone, we have over 400 mobile ID devices. We have nearly 70 live scans and over 50 APHIS terminals region-wide. In July of 2023, Cal ID 10-print will move to the crime laboratory to fully incorporate all of our fingerprint services into the forensic operations of our department. Our crime lab provides crime scene investigation services countywide, and we responded to more than 140 crime scenes just last year alone. Our crime lab was recognized in 2022 as the 89th lab nationally to incorporate OSAC national best practice standards into its operations, in addition to its accreditation. We have been accredited for 20 years, and as of today, we have 6 attendees from I-10 Latent Prints, Cal ID, and CSI here at this meeting. Can you guys raise your hands? Awesome. Thank you for being here. So I just wanted to really be here to wish you well in your training, welcome you to San Diego, and I hope you have a very productive meetings as well as a really good time in our city. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to the sheriff for coming and welcoming everybody. I have been with San Diego for about 3.5, almost 4 years. I am very proud of the crime lab and the operations that we work in. The beautiful thing about forensics is that every day is different, right? And we get to do, we take what we do as a routine to make sure that when it's not, we know exactly how we should operate and prepare. I'm very grateful to Nicole and to Jessica from Oceanside for inviting us to be here. I'm so happy that our staff get to join in the week ahead. We even have a speaker who's going to be presenting a workshop all day, Diane, one of our senior latent print examiners. She is a consummate professional. We're very lucky to have her. We're super excited about bringing our 10-print operations into the crime lab. Our goal over the next 2 years is to accredit that program. We're very proud of being responsible for Cal ID and moving the laboratory and Cal ID for the region and evolving our operations. It's part of the reason why we've started to incorporate the OSAC standards into our operations. We are constantly evolving and changing at the laboratory. We continue to add responsibilities and evolve our operations, assess new technology, and hopefully bring you the best forensic operations. Our vision is excellence in forensic science, and that is our goal in San Diego County. I welcome all of you guys here. I'm so grateful that our team gets to be here, and please enjoy your time in San Diego. Hopefully we're going to get some sun this afternoon for you all. All right. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thank you both for being here. I understand you probably have very busy days. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you all.
So before we get to our keynote speaker, I just wanted to have a little some words, and it's been an honor to serve as a president this past year. And it's an honor to welcome you all to this conference. The theme of this year's conference is embracing unity. I began my presidency with a promise to support inclusivity and to create the best possible environment for all our members to contribute to the the purposes established in the California State Division Constitution. And the conference is accumulation of that promise and all the people that have been working to bring this together. So I just wanted to take some time to go through and acknowledge some of those people that have been working so hard on my behalf to bring a fantastic conference to us this year. Please help me acknowledge Jessica Callanan, if you will please stand, our speaker's chair. Oh, she walked out. Bad timing. Jason Cole, who's helped with the speaker. Hybrid Logistics Chair, Amanda Crafton. Volunteer Coordinator, Crystal Simmons. There she's in the back. Co-chair, vendor co-chair, there we go. Rodrigo Viesca. Where's Rodrigo? Oh, Rodrigo. And his co-chair, Tara Vin, is unable to make it today, but I'm hoping she'll be here sometime this week. So she was a tremendous help for this conference. Nick Zamora, a registration, perfect timing. Nick Zamora, registration chair. So throughout the week, please express your appreciation to these people. If you've enjoyed something, please touch base with them and let them know, because they're hearing it from me, but it's so much better to hear it from everybody. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsors and vendors that help us run this conference and encourage you all to visit them. They'll be setting up today. Just out these doors to the left is a Kontiki ballroom. They're setting up, and tomorrow morning we'll have breakfast there, and they will be available for all your questions and just to network, a wealth of knowledge that they have, and they're here to help. So I'd like to acknowledge TriTech Forensics, Justice Tracks, Foster and Freeman, APHIS and Biometrics Consulting Inc., CSI Picks, Datum Tech Solutions, File on Q, Foray Technologies, IDEMIA, Midio Systems, NEC, Pro Forensic Supplies, Reflective Forensics, Specs Forensics, Arrowhead Forensics, Lynn Peavy Company, NamUs, and Searchy was also a sponsor for an event. So if we could please acknowledge our vendors. It is my honor and privilege to welcome our keynote speaker. And we are way ahead of schedule, so you can entertain us with your words. If you would all please welcome John Russell, the IAI president, and he is going to take it away.
Oh, thank you all very much for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to be here for the California State Division Conference. I'll have to stop right at the beginning, and this will become very apparent the longer I speak. I am not from this area. The beauty of this is it's being recorded, right? Is it closed captioning? Because that'll be messed up too. I guarantee you. If there is an ah, that's an R. In any of my words, you won't understand it. But they come on to other words like soda and stuff like that. So obviously, I have, as I've been told, a face for radio. So you might have gotten the bargain basement keynote speaker here, but we'll try to make this as entertaining as possible. And unless my mom is sitting somewhere in the audience, there's probably no one here that paid to come see me speak. So we'll get through this. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Nicole and Jessica, for for inviting me. Again, it's an honor. As president of the IAI, I get to go to several division conferences every year. I haven't been in California in several years. I've never been to a California conference. So, but we've all heard the legends of the division. It's our oldest division, something that you should be extremely proud of. So thank you again. As the former president of a New England division, I can tell you that is probably tougher to be a president of a regional local division than it is the IAI president. I have a staff, a professional staff. You have nothing. So yes. And once again, if you've had any part of this conference, or if you're going to be a speaker here or a presenter, or you helped plan it, could you please stand up so I could just see you? Thank you again so much. So just a little background about me before you fade off to sleep or grab the cell phones. God bless you. I lived in New England, Boston and Rhode Island, so thus the bad accent. And that's where I went to college and then grad school. I left college, and if you really listen carefully, my mom is crying somewhere because I did not become the doctor that she had planned me to be. I went into the Marine Corps to be an officer. I did put in to come to California, but if you're ever in Vegas and you see me, do not stand next to me. I am the unluckiest person you will meet. So of course I did not. I was in the desert and I was in North Carolina, so no California was in my future. From there, I went to Rhode Island State Police, where I ran our forensic services unit, and I retired after almost 25 years. I'm now at RTI, which is a research company in North Carolina. And for RTI, I help run the Forensic Technology Center of Excellence. I'm on the NIST OSAC project for crime scene, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That's the virtual reality. And I also do another project called Case Closed, which helps agencies that are having difficulties solving shooting cases. So we'll look over their policies and procedures, and we'll come up with some recommendations. Embracing unity. Wow. It's when I was asked to be the keynote speaker, it's an honor. And what a theme. I couldn't have come up with a better one. And who isn't happy to be here this week? Who would rather be in their office piling through casework? None of us, right? Yes, we will have about 500 to 1,000 emails when we return. We know that. Yes, I will get picked on because I was in lovely San Diego, probably having fun on a beach somewhere, not actually at a conference. That's not the case. My wife will be the first one that accuses me of that. I know. When I first saw the theme, of course, I was wowed. And then I kind of, got off email. I went back after Jessica told me, and I said, I'll have to parlay my language because this will be recorded. Oh, crap. That's a really great subject, but a really hard subject to talk about, to put into words. So I did what has worked over the years for me. I drank a couple of beers. That's beers. And there was no epiphany that came as a result of that, unfortunately. So then I did which has always been my backup plan and served me well in college, a little less well in grad school. I put it off. I procrastinated. I took care of all my easier stuff to do. And then I would love to say that there was some moment somewhere that led me to say, hey, this is the day that I'm going to sit down and write this. And it's not pretty. I was at a Kevin James show. Kevin James, a comedian, King of Queens. And he was doing, all kind of funny routines. And one of them was, he didn't like to go out with his wife, who apparently is much smarter than him. That's smarter than him. And I'm catching myself. I'm trying. Much smarter than him. And she would always drag him to like these cocktail parties. And he didn't like to go. And the reason he didn't like to go was he had nothing to say. And he just looked at himself. He's like, I know nothing. So I don't like to speak to these. So that was my epiphany, that if I stood up here without writing anything, you would all look at me and say, really, Nicole? He knows nothing. So you may not change your mind on that, but I will try. So that was my time to sit down and buckle up with this. So embracing unity. We're on a budget here, so I use dictionary.com. I took the words apart, embracing. Two definitions came up. To hold something closely in one's arms. We are not touching that one in this day and age of holding anything, touching anything. The II is not supporting that. We're not even going there. So let's move on to the second one. To accept or support a belief or theory or change willingly or enthusiastically. So that's accept or support a belief or theory or change willingly or enthusiastically. Let's talk about the first one, acceptance. I started in this field over, probably 3 decades ago now, even though I'm 35 on the treadmill. So I don't know how that's working out, but the world back then was a better place, right? That's what we tell ourselves. That's what we tell our kids. Oh, it was a different era. There was no less gun violence, evils of social media, cell phones, but was it? I don't think so, having lived it. The old days were not as accepting, no doubt, as nowadays. Are we done with that journey? No. But we are making strides in that direction. Just little things I think about from when I started. And I see Pat sitting right there. I'm sure you're going to agree with some of these. You would go to work dressed like this. You would then be asked to process a scene of latent print powder. Your suit would then go from blue to black. And your supervisors at the time would have zero tolerance for you whining about wanting to change your clothes. That's a small little thing that I remember, because that's the way it was always done, and that's the way we need to continue to do it. But how about a larger thing? How about who got put into ID units back then? Yes, you had some cream of the crop, but then you had a whole bunch that were in trouble for whatever reason. And we were generally located in like the back corner of the building somewhere that could be out of sight, out of mind. And if you've ever dealt with anyone that got put in that unit that didn't want to be there, but was doing their time, it was rough. Not very accepting. How about some other things? There was a total lack of gender and racial diversity. Total. You would walk in and it was a carbon copy of the same person. We've done much better on gender. We do have work to do on racial diversity in this field, no lie. That is something that all of us could just put in our minds to continue to try to improve on. How about time off for childbirth? Unheard of. Get back to work. Even as a dad, I can remember my first child was born and I had the night shift. So we took her home during the morning and I called in and I said, can I have, this night off? It's the first night my daughter's coming home. Well, you had all day off. That was the answer. And that's probably not just my case. I'm sure that many others dealt with the same thing. So the good old days probably not as good as we thought. But you still perhaps cringe when you hear someone in your office that's older say, well, that's the way I was taught. That's the way we do things. It's worked for us. Has it? Or has it worked? Has it just worked, but not worked correctly? So acceptance. So back to it, embracing. Is acceptance or support? Really should be acceptance and support, but again, this is dictionary.com, so it was kind of a low budget definition. So support. In a perfect world, we all support each other, right? That's why we're here. That's why we chose this field. But then you get these little nuances. The detective comes in your office and says, these prints come, you know, I'm sure that this suspect is going to hit because this is my person. Or they bring you a set of shoes. These shoes belong to that track. Can you just make the ID, make the known source, whatever OSAC standard you're going with now? And we come up with an answer that does not agree with them. Are we not in support of them? No, that's what we do as forensic professionals. But how about if I ask you this? When was the last email that you got that said, you did an excellent job on this case. You looked at 37 latents and you didn't match any of them. Great. Thank you so much for helping us with this homicide. And then I look back at myself as a supervisor. I never once called someone in. I maybe said, like, you're working really hard. But I never once said, like, you're doing awesome. Like, you haven't helped us solve any of these murders, but really keep going. Like, it'll click for you someday. Thanks. So how about the old days though, right? Definitely better support wise, right? It must have been. How about all those death scenes or child death scenes or bad things happening to the elderly? Like, there was a ton of support network back then, right? I mean, we would talk to a counselor. No, right? Where was that? Wow, hey kid, toughen up. That's just how we do it here. I would like to think that most agencies have evolved and come up with some kind of a support network for those of us and those of you that see these horrific crimes and then have to live their life with their family day to day. That is a definite area that we've improved on, but it's something we can always continue to improve on, that support network for each other. And if you're not a supervisor and you're in this room, you are basically the first line of defense. You know the feelings of your people way better than the supervisor does. You know when that problem is affecting someone. So it's all of your jobs to bring that to someone's attention. How else do we support each other, right? Vacation schedules. I got this great vacation planned, or I have no vacation planned and you want to take a vacation, but you're junior to me. I'm not giving you, my time. No, we do that. We help each other like that. We hope we do. And if you don't, just, nod your head. Yeah, I do that. That's fine. How about assistance with caseload? It's like the last thing you want to do, leaving on a Friday when someone gives you something to do. But we do it because we know that at some point in time, we're going to be in that situation and we care about the ultimate goal. Now let's deviate even more. Who has one of those people in their office that knows everyone's birthday? And you're thinking to yourself, really? Another cake? And let me just mention the birthday song. I don't have a musical tone in my body, but we couldn't have come up with a better song than that. Think about it. Now you're going to be singing it in your heads all day long and you have me to blame. Thank you. But those people, we love them because for some reason, they took the time to think about us as individuals and remembered our birthdays. Now they could be the people that just want to eat cake all day, but that's fine too. But they remembered us. How about mentoring? mentoring junior members. How about an even trickier one? You have someone in your office that you know deep down, that person's better than you, or they will be better than you, and still taking the time to mentor them. I had someone, we used Leica scanners, and I was the best, quote unquote, in my department. But that didn't last, because I started training someone that for whatever reason, we all know these people in whatever discipline we're in. He picked it up like lightning, and he took what I had for knowledge and it made it laughable. It's mentoring those people that we know are someday or potentially better than us. That's important. It's not about our jobs and our esteemed respectability. It's about the overall process, and that's how we support each other. So back to our definition. Embracing is accepting or supporting a belief, theory, or change, which in this case is unity. Unity. That's a strange word, right? Is the world unified? How about the country? You gave me 40 minutes. I could speak for 40 days on the unity of this country. I don't know much about California politics. I'm going to guess that it's like the rest of the states, that we're all over the place. But how about us as forensic professionals? Because that's what we care about. Are we unified? We heard mention today of OSAC standards. I sit on the OSAC footwear and tire subcommittee. We just spent probably a year and a half working on some standards for new, what was formerly known as conclusion scales. Year and a half. We didn't argue, but we did disagree. And we eventually came to some form of a consensus. We then took that consensus to the overall subcommittee, and it got blown out of the water. It was like we hadn't even really worked on it. And then we came up with something else, and it'll go before the Human Factors Committee, the legal people, and they will again kill it or tweak it. And then it'll go up to the SDOs, and then it's up for public comment. And everyone and their cousin will have a comment on that standard. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. The situation that we have that I consider unity is healthy discussion amongst ourselves. That was a drum roll that I put in. And all of that is fine for our purposes. I sit on the IAI chair for the ISO tag. You talk about disagreements at the ISO level, at the international level. There's numerous debates on commas and periods. And we've been working on 3 documents, analysis, interpretation, definitions, and analysis, interpretations, and definitions for years now. They will come out. They won't be what everyone wants for every part of it. But I think that they, like all of the other documents that come out, are much better than what we had in place before. When I started, there was very little to no manuals. And what you had from a manual was kind of copied from like the agency next to you that was a little more progressive than you. And you took their name off and you put your name on. And you looked at it and you said, wow, I didn't realize I had 37 latent print examiners, but I guess I do. It's in the policy. So we kind of grade ourselves, hopefully, pretty high as forensic people, as examiners, as crime scene investigators, whatever your discipline is. So what's the purpose in coming to this meeting then, if we're that good? My purpose is to learn from the instructors, to learn from you. I went to my first IAI meeting and I quickly realized, not that I didn't know before, I'm by no means the smartest guy in the room. I looked around, I looked at the quality of the instructors, and I was amazed. But then you dig deeper and you start talking to other people that are there at the conference, and you really feel that it's a sense of community. Yes, you will talk to some agencies this week and you will shake your head and you will say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they do it like that. Or they're still doing something like that. And that's good. That's fine. That's healthy. That's a sense of unity that we want. Talking, discussions, all good things. I went to the ASCLD meetings recently, and there was a keynote speaker who was very good. I'm sure they paid him a lot of money though. So, so anyways, this keynote speaker came up with, and he said, if you look at those, those pictures that people have in their offices, and they're like teamwork, and it shows, a whole bunch of people rowing like a boat together. And you kind of want to take that picture and take it off the wall and smash it. We can delete that from the recording. He said, and I agree, that's probably the last thing you want with teamwork. Everyone rowing in the same direction. Everyone just following simple orders and instructions. No, that's awful for the science. That's awful for us. I saw Pat years ago in Vermont at a debate. It was fantastic. And I came away just thinking to myself, this is what we need. We need healthy discussions. Otherwise, we'll never move forward. Whoever wrote a report that said reasonable degree of scientific certainty, exclusion of all others. Those were things that were in our language that, for the most part, are not there, or they've at least fallen away. New techniques, new technology, always important for this field. When I look at the vendor area now, as in my current job, I look at it more of a technology into practice. But I also look at it and I'm really jealous, because some of the stuff that they have, I really wish I had back in the day. And I think back to, this will really date me and take me out of that 35-year-old treadmill runner. We were using film cameras, and part of me does miss a little of the film camera world, because if you had to go somewhere and you took pictures with film, always that little doubt of like, did I even load it correctly? Did I change the speed of the film? Did I open the back of the camera inadvertently? But you kind of had a little built-in excuse, because everyone sort of did some mess up with film cameras, and you really didn't get in that much trouble. You kind of did, but people sort of understood. So we moved to digital, and I would love to again say that there was an earth-shattering moment that led us to move to digital. But for any of you that are like multitasked in your agency, and because you're the person with the camera, now you're also the person that has to take like the PR shots that the department wants. We also had to take photos for IDs at that time. And we had our film camera, and we were not allowed to purchase updated film until we went through this one set pile. So I said, and this is probably why I'm retired now, I said that, okay, we're going to use the oldest film possible for this set of ID photos. And it happened to be the command staff. So that probably wasn't a great move, but their photos were awful looking. And when the big supervisor contacted me and said, what's going on? And I made my pitch for digital cameras. It wasn't any of the homicide scenes. It was his photo and their photos that led us to getting a digital camera. Fast forward like 10 years later, I still have the same digital camera, and I'm out there. And so I go to a training conference, and I look, and there was a presenter on photography, and he's talking, and he's coming up with some slides, and he puts a slide up, and it's of the camera that I'm currently using, which is 10 years old. And he says, do you remember when we had to use like stuff like this? So that was great. My equipment was basically in a museum that I was using. But if any of you have dealt with that, I'm there with you. So I did read that every keynote speech should have some statistics built in. I am not a statistician, so I found, but I did find statistics that I think were relevant to me. I'm not worried about you, but to me. So I moved from Rhode Island to North Carolina. Accent hasn't kicked in yet, I know. And I looked up top American accents. Southern California, top 3. So if you're from Southern California, bravo, you have one of the top accents. Here's the problem though. Most annoying accents. Mine. Second most, Southern. So I went from annoying, really annoying to like, yeah, you're still annoying. But there's a weird twist, and I'm hoping to capitalize on this. Sexiest accent, Southern. So you have before you the most annoying, but attempting to be sexiest accent keynote speaker. I think I am striving for success on that. Thank you. So let's talk about conferences and IAI and California divisions. What's the importance of joining any of these organizations? So number one is financial, as your division will say at a business meeting. The more members you have, the more money that organization has. And anyone who's had, say, a couple bad conferences or a couple off conferences, those people will tell you the treasurer at that organization, which is a job that no one wants for some reason, but the treasurer will tell you, we can't really afford another bad conference. But there's obviously a much better reason, and that is because we are better together. The power in those of us here in this room learning from each other, and I'm not just talking in your discipline. Latent print examiners, crime scene people, photographers, video, audio people, all of us are better together when we work together, collaborate. The 3D scanner that I mentioned, that was never a tool that was developed for crime scene. It's an engineering device. And then we all saw it when people went to buy homes. And so now we use it at crime scenes, but that was never something that was developed just for crime scenes. So that's the interoperability of working with other disciplines that has helped. Let's talk the elephant in the room, students. This is a debate among parent body IAI and multiple divisions about student and student memberships. And there are 2 schools of thoughts on it. And some, even within the IAI, are that, that's not their time and place yet, or these meetings should be reserved, or these organizations should be reserved for us working professionals, and maybe there's another organization for students that's out there. I disagree. I think not only are students the future of us, but even more importantly, they bring fresh ideas. Yes, room 1057 for free drinks later. Thank you, students. So they bring ideas that those of us that have been in the field for a long time maybe don't have. Maybe we need a spark. And they're learning things in colleges, in school, that should not be discounted. That quality that they can bring us will certainly help us. Cross collaboration with other entities too, medical examiner, coroner offices, traffic reconstruction people. Any of that is important for our field. I do have to pause one moment for back to when I was trying to select a keynote topic and speech. Humor me for a minute. So at my last job, so this, I'm going on like 30 years ago. So for the record, the statute of limitations is over for this. I walked into the doctor's office because you had to have your eye test. And at this eye test, you had to have 20/20 vision, or it needed to be corrected to 20/20 vision. So I looked at a friend of mine who was also taking the eye test, and I said, I don't know. Things sometimes are a little blurry, but I may have 20/20, but I don't want to blow it. And I, of course, put it off, and I hadn't like gone to the eye doctor to get myself checked. And he looked at me and he said, John, you have nothing to worry about. And I said, well, I don't really worry that much anyways, but I am a little worried about this. He's like, no, DefPotec. I'm like, what? DefPotec. DEFPOTEC. That's the standard 20/20 line on an eye chart. Again, the II does not endorse cheating on any eye exams or eye charts. However, how is that even at all relevant? Well, when Jessica sent me the initial email and she said, would you like to be the keynote speaker? I said, yeah, that's great. But I'm reading it on my cell phone, which is really small now. And because I have the worst cell phone in my house. And I looked at it quick the next day and I said, oh, geez, I thought she said 4 minutes. She said 40 minutes. DefPotec, bad, not your friend in that case. So show of hands, who is sitting next to someone that you know right now? Right? Most of the room, as would I. A couple people sitting by themselves. I don't know, maybe they had a little too much to drink last night. They need to sleep it off. They have second thoughts. Maybe you're not even supposed to be at this conference. Maybe you're just like, hey, there's like coffee out there. There's like a lot of stuff going on. Maybe you like the purple bags. I don't know. Like, but for whatever reason, we're not going to rat you out. Just stay here. Pre-COVID, I used to fly Southwest Airlines a lot. They were cheap. They had the 2 free bags. I used to take like one bag and I used to put like a jacket in it. And I said, you're not getting one over on me. You give me like 2 free bags. I'm getting my 2 free bags. The other thing they used to do, obviously, and I think they still do, no assigned seats, right? So I like to sit on the aisle. And again, pre-COVID, I would start like a little like coughing fit. And kind of make myself look, look, the face isn't that desirable to begin with. So I would sort of make myself look as least desirable as possible to sit next to on that plane. I can't get away with those tactics anymore. So I've switched to like Delta and American Airlines. And then plus, I think there's someone in like whose luggage is in Norway from like Christmas at Southwest still, but I have a challenge for you. Please connect with at least one person that you know nothing about this week. And by connect, I don't mean exchange a business card. I mean really connect, get to know them. I guarantee you that this will help you professionally and, more important, personally throughout your life. I cannot tell you how many people that I've met that I have been able to call, sometimes in the middle of the night, I am sorry, with the problem, with the question that for whatever reason, I either could not get from my own agency, did not feel comfortable asking, needed some advice from outside of that. I needed another perspective. Please connect with someone that you do not know this week. That is as important as anything you will learn in any of the lectures. And that is the reason that you're here today. So I have one more challenge for you. Try to take a little time, whenever it is this week, and try to reflect why you joined not why you joined your department, but why you entered this field. What led you to this point in your life? I would love to tell you that mine was, I always loved forensics and this is what I wanted to do. But, back then forensics wasn't really so much of a thing unless you were a fan of Quincy. I was always interested in science. I loved solving things. You might be shocked at this. I stink at crossword puzzles because of my accent. I can't really spell too well. Things are not the way that they sound. Those of us in my, school, we are all bad spellers. But I have a brother that he's older than me, a couple years older. He would, by today's standards, be diagnosed with autism, or probably on the worser end now, but functioning back then. But that wasn't a thing growing up. It was, kids weren't, it just wasn't treated. You were just put in the classroom with everyone else. So as a result of that, as you can guess how kids can be, it was a tough childhood for my brother. Picked on, bullied. Regrettably, as a kid, I just remember thinking, I felt bad for him, but I also felt, I'm glad this is him and not me. And that's awful to think. Today he still suffers from, mental health issues a lot. But I look back at how he was treated, and I like to think that there's a small part of me that wants to work on the side of helping others, doing things for people, finding ways to assist others. And that is a little, I think, of what drew me to this field. So I like to think that there's some positive that came from some negative. But you all have something that drew you to this. Try to take a little time this week when you're not dealing with all of the stuff that goes on when you're in the office. Take some reflection. Come back to work energized. Come back and take some of what you learned here and figure out why it is that you came to us, why you came to forensics, what is important about it to you. That'll grow dividends to you, I guarantee. I want to thank you again for this opportunity. I hope to meet all of you this week. That would be excellent. As was mentioned, we do have a virtual reality room that'll be set up. That's part of a NIST project. And that's to study how crime scenes are processed by different agencies. So as part of that, we do not take your name. We don't, we won't write anything in a report that deals with your name or your agency. So there's no fear of that. It's a federally funded project. So if you have an opportunity, and I bring that up because yes, it's a project that I have, but I think that is just an example of how this field can grow. I would love to see at some point in time a virtual reality competency testing. So a supervisor can set up a virtual reality test based on their own agency's policies and procedures. That way, the days of, I'm going to set up a crime scene room, but, I don't have a lot of space in my agency. Now I have to take that crime scene room down. Now I'm going to give you a crime scene test, but it's going to be a slightly different because maybe, the plastic gun that I used in the other scene is gone now, or someone, the little blood stain is no longer where it used to be. That's where I would love to see the field going to. Just another advancement. I'll leave you with this. When I left my old agency, there was a tradition that on your last day, you would send an email. We all laughed about it because the emails were very mushy. Thank you so much. I learned so much during my career here. And we all swore that I'm not going to be that person to write that email. I'm just going to say goodbye and leave. Like everyone else, everyone does it, to include me, because you do get mushy at the end. one person who's a friend of mine, she wrote something that has always stuck with me on her follow email. She wrote, remember this, everyone has a story. And I take that to heart. Everyone has a story. And we need to just always remember that for the public that we serve, the coworkers that we have, and the future of our organizations. I want to thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to meeting you all this week. Thank you. Thank you again.